On this episode of the Tesla Tidbits Show, we talk about Model 3 safety, the guts of Model 3, new looks at the Roadster, and more. This is Tesla Tidbits episode number 365 for February 19th, 2018. We lead off the week with a story from Teslarati on the safety we can expect from Model 3. Much as its bigger counterparts, we're of course expecting it to be one of the safest cars on the road, and if it follows suit from Model S and Model X, the safest in its class. We get a first look at this safety thanks to an owner that annihilated his car by hitting a stopped vehicle at 60 miles per hour. Those familiar with seeing wrecked Teslas can already see in their mind's eye what the result was. The front end was unrecognizable, all airbags were deployed, and of course, everyone occupying the vehicle walked away almost completely unscathed. The owner reports that the first responders were largely amazed that he was even talking to them. Quote, "Everyone from the paramedics to the tow truck driver said that people don't usually walk away from this. Had this been a regular ICE vehicle, I would be dead or in a lot worse condition," end quote. The owner had two valid complaints regarding the car and the accident, though. Firstly, the screen on the car's amazing center screen shattered in the accident, causing injury to his passenger's arm. Secondly, since the glove box is controlled by said screen, the owner had a difficult time accessing insurance and registration information for the car. Elon responded on Twitter regarding the article, noting that the issues would be resolved. Quote, "Adding software feature to open glove box automatically when car comes to a stop after a crash. We'll look at bonding a thin plastic sheet to the front or back of screen," end quote. Now, it is a bit puzzling that this was missed in Tesla's own crash testing, but glad to see that the company is reacting. I would assume that all cars shipped already would be pulled in for recall to resolve the safety concern around the screen once the solution is determined. Speaking of Model 3 and its insides that were all over the road, we find 3 videos from YouTube channel Engineerix showing off those insides while they're intact. The channel pulled the front tub from the car, showed that process via time-lapse, a full exploration of the resulting exposed mechanics, and then a tour underneath the car as well. We get a fantastic exploration of the car, including the cavernous area that the front motor on dual-motor cars will eventually occupy. This is good confirmation news for those looking to buy the dual-motor variant, that their front space will not be further limited as this has already been accounted for in the design. Tesla is literally able to drop the second motor in, as the video even shows one of the mount points that the motor will use sitting in the single-motor car. All told, it's about 15 minutes of your time, and if you're Model 3 obsessed, it's well worth it. Moving over to Electrek now, we find out that the new Roadster prototype shown off at the semi-unveiling has found a new home for the moment. Employees fortunate enough to be working at the Tesla headquarters in Palo Alto now get a look at the beauty every day. Electrek posted the full album of pictures that Casey Spencer posted to Reddit, and it's stunning. And if you happen to recognize that name, that's because this is the same Casey Spencer that at one time held the hypermiling record in the Model S. But we're not done with the Roadster. Skipping over to Twitter, user @Conzilla managed to capture the same Roadster on the test track at Fremont. Warning on that video with the NSFW language that the folks recording react with, but I can't say I blame them. And it didn't even appear to be a full power launch to me. Next, we revisit a story from a couple weeks back about Model 3 being torn apart literally and figuratively by a company that specializes in the practice. Sandy Munro, the CEO of Munro and Associates, appeared on the Autoline YouTube channel again to talk about the Model 3, but had a much different opinion from the last appearance he made. In his last appearance, I don't recall him having literally anything good to say about the Model 3. And in this appearance, it would appear he got taken to task for his opinion, as he brought data to back up his first claims. I would tell him that it's not that we don't believe you about the nits you were picking, it's just that you're complaining about things that ultimately didn't matter in that first video. Apart from that, though, this video was all about the car's performance and ride feel, and almost begrudgingly it seems, Sandy and the host finally gave the Model 3 its due. Munro filled the car full of instrumentation equipment and brought it here to the Transportation Research Center in Ohio, where I'd make the assumption that Tesla actually did its own testing as well, as the car had been seen in the state far away from California, when it was still rare to even see in California. The video even notes that Honda utilizes the same facility for its testing. Munro put the car through its paces in all but the braking test area, as for unclear reasons they were unable to utilize that area. Now, it should be noted that they don't have the instrumentation data available yet, but Sandy is speaking with authority based on his current knowledge of the testing, and overall, the impression was that everyone involved with driving the car came away impressed. Maybe next time it'd be a good idea to do this video with complete analysis rather than partial information. Lastly tonight, a hat tip to the Ride the Lightning podcast again regarding the recent rearrangements of delivery times that put some Canadians further up the line for dual-motor deliveries. Per Ryan McCaffrey, his source states that this was, as theorized by some, Tesla indeed doing this in order to maximize the number of people in the U.S. that can take advantage of the full tax credit available before the company delivers 200,000 vehicles in the country. So while this does sting a bit for folks wanting to get their car as soon as possible, it does end up being a win-win for all involved in the end. Canadians get to see earlier than expected delivery for their cars, and more U.S. owners will get to pick up that full tax credit. Kudos to Tesla for following through on that implied promise from long ago. Make sure you check out the links to the full stories in the show description. While you're at it, please consider supporting the show financially through Patreon at patreon.com/Tesla Tidbits. We have a bounty of new folks joining the ranks today. Please welcome first-time patron Justin Cockett to the party this week. And then we've also got a couple of super patrons coming on board as well. Longtime supporter Robert Healy has jumped up to the super patron tier, and joining him is newcomer Mitch Long as well. Thanks so much to everyone for joining up here lately. It's much appreciated. Robert and Mitch joined John Waltower, Drew Schuyler, John Waller, Mark and Sarah Thomas, Ryan Scarborough, Lee Sweet, William Henry Crew III, Dorian Steve Guberman, Bruno Quindici, John Rich, Joey Boots, Ralph and Cheryl Waterhouse, Adam Raymer Brown, Megawatt Photovoltaic Development, and Todd Sullivan supporting the show at the $10 plus level. If you can't support with dollars, please be sure to show your love with positive reviews and subscriptions on YouTube, iTunes, and other services across the internet. That's it for tonight. If you have feedback for me, the best way to be heard is to tweet at Tesla Tidbits and use the hashtag AskTeslaTidbits if you'd like your question to be considered for the show. I'll see everyone back here again tomorrow. Until then, keep it charged and hit the road.